Hey everybody, welcome back to the Spiral Podcast. Today's the Friday podcast, and also I'm going to be doing something new for Fridays since college football's back, and there's games every weekend. I'm going to be talking about, I'm going to be predicting the top 5 most intriguing games for the weekend, and this is just going to be my opinions and what I think are going to be the best games, and then giving my opinion on who's going to win. So the big one for this week is going to be Texas versus Michigan. As of recording, it's number 4 versus number 9. And, Texas offense looked really solid against Colorado State. And Michigan didn't really look that good. As of the time I'm recording, Michigan still hasn't even named a quarterback. So if they don't name one by the time they play, it could get really ugly for them, I think. Because they just need to have a quarterback who they can game plan around and not just have to switch them out, which I think last year with Kyle McCord and Devin Brown, that's something Ohio State struggled with, so that could be bad. Their defense against Fresno State was not pretty either. Will Johnson, while he did have an interception and a touchdown, he didn't play that good for being like a number 1 defensive player in the country. I think they didn't look too good. Besides that, Fresno State is just way different than Texas, especially, so it's kind of hard to compare that. Texas also held Colorado State to 0 points, while Michigan gave up like 16, I believe. So, I would say Colorado State and Fresno State are pretty comparable as well. So, I think Michigan is going to lose, and it's going to be at Ann Arbor. So, I think that's something that can help them out. But, the spread right now is minus 6.5 for Texas, and I think Texas will probably cover the spread. And I can see a scenario where they might win by a touchdown, 10 points even, just because I don't think Michigan is just ready for Texas at this point of the season. And I think Texas will go into Ann Arbor and beat them. So the next game is going to be Tennessee versus North Carolina State. As I'm recording, it's 15 versus 24. And I think that this will be an interesting game just because SEC school going to North Carolina State is pretty uncommon, I would say. But I think, North Carolina State hasn't played well enough to beat the high-powered offense of Tennessee. Tennessee dropped 69 points against Chattanooga, who's an FBS school. North Carolina State dropped 38 points against West Carolina, an FCS school. So, because of that, it could be a little interesting. I think Tennessee's offense will just overpower North Carolina State ultimately. No matter, even if North Carolina State's defense is somewhat solid, I just think it is at home, so if the crowd can get into it enough, they might be able to contain Tennessee. Hopefully that could help them win as well, but I just think Tennessee's going to go in there and beat them. I just think I wanted North Carolina. I was kind of high on North Carolina State. I thought they would be a good team this season, but that game that they played against Western Carolina certainly sparked some scaredness into me, if that's even a word. So I don't know. I think Tennessee's going to go in there and beat them, probably by. I can see a scenario where they even beat them by 13 points, maybe 2 touchdowns, just because, that Nico guy at Tennessee, I don't know how to say his last name, I'm not even going to try it, but he is really solid, and it could be ugly. But I think North Carolina State will hold them pretty well, but I still think Tennessee's going to win by 14 points, 13 points. So, and then the third game is App State versus Clemson. I think App State if App State can score on offense, they can beat Clemson. I honestly do think that. They only scored 38 points last week against East Tennessee State, which is concerning because I thought App State would beat them by way more. I think their defense isn't that good, but neither is Clemson's offense. In the end, I do think Clemson will beat App State just because I think Cade Klubnik will be able to get the offense going. It's hard to look at last week's game, especially because they played against Georgia, so, the number 1 team in the country, so it's hard to compare how their offense truly did, because I did think they were moving the ball somewhat good at times, but then they would get stopped on, on a third down in, the 30 or 40-yard line, and they would just have to punt, and it's really tough, so I think Clemson can get it done. It's a home game. I don't think App State's quite good enough to stop Cade Klubnik and the Tiger offense yet. So I got Clemson winning that game, but I wouldn't be surprised if App State can upset them. So Clemson might be on upset alert. For the fourth game, I got Colorado versus Nebraska. And, if you watch my other podcast, I'm really high on Nebraska. They dropped 40 points on UTEP, only gave up 7 on defense. And I think Dylan Raiola looked really good. On the other hand, Colorado only won by 5 points to North Dakota State, who's a well-respected FCS school, but an FCS school at that. So, Travis Hunter, Shedeur Sanders, they're both going to be top picks in next year's draft, maybe in the top 5 for the both of them. So no doubt they are some of the best players in college football right now. However, the team around them is really not that good. I don't think it's good. Their O-line is really bad still. The defense, pretty bad. They gave 26 points allowed at home versus North Dakota State. That's not good. It's Nebraska at home, 7:30 game. The crowd's going to be crazy. Nebraska sells out every game. And, I think I got Nebraska, and I might go as far to say they might beat them by 10 points. The only thing I think that Colorado has a chance is if their defense, Travis Hunter, if they can really strap up Dylan Raiola, it could get interesting, but I just think Colorado's just too much. It's just better than Colorado. And being at home at a night game, it's going to be a tough environment for Colorado. And ultimately, I got Nebraska winning that, probably by 10 points. And then for the last game that I'm going to predict, I got Iowa versus Iowa State. Iowa came off of a 40-0 win against Illinois State. So 40 points for Iowa. I never thought I'd see the day, but it was only 6-0 at halftime. I was watching that game a little bit, and oh my gosh, it's like watching paint dry. I'm sorry. Iowa, their defense is amazing, but their offense is so atrocious. I will say, one thing that Iowa had is freshman wide receiver Reese Vanderzee. He had 2 touchdowns yesterday, so that's really good to have if you're an Iowa fan, just seeing offense and touchdowns scored by getting points scored. That's somebody not a kicker, so that's really great to see. I think Cade McNamara played average. Like I said, the first half of the game was really bad for him. They didn't even score a touchdown, so. But in the end, he did score. He did have 251 yards and 3 touchdowns. I think, Iowa, their wide receivers last year combined had 3 touchdowns, and yesterday they had 3 touchdowns, so that's good to see. But Iowa State is also coming off a win. It was 21-3 against North Dakota, so take that how you want. Rocco Beck for Iowa State. I don't know if I'm saying that right. He had an average performance as well, not too bad. He had 2 touchdowns and 267 yards of offense or passing yards. So I do think that this game will be extremely low scoring. I think it's going to really maybe not even go over 30 points combined. So I do think that Iowa's going to win because their defense is just so good. It's always going to be good. It's just, can their offense step up and score? And I think they will be able to score enough. Maybe 10, 17 points. And I think that's honestly going to be enough to beat Iowa State just because I'm not too high on Iowa State this year. So those are my predictions for the top 5 most intriguing games this weekend. Let me know if you agree with these are being the most intriguing games. There's some other pretty decent ones, but it's going to be a great week of college football. So let me know down in the comments if you agree with my predictions, and I hope to see you guys in the next one. Bye.